Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning into this episode of That's Our Take. Today, we are joined by our friend Katy, and we're going to have a conversation on adulting. So, I've tried all the creams, but the rash is still there.
Go on.
That's all I had.
I'll bite.
I was don't bite the rash, please. Weird motherfucker. So, Katy, what do you do?
I work for the United Performing Arts Fund downtown.
Downtown Milwaukee.
Downtown Milwaukee. I do good things. I raise money for our local economy and for the performing arts here in Milwaukee.
It sounds like a LinkedIn bullet
It
point.
does, because that's what I've been doing for the past 3 months, is finding me a job.
Nice.
So self-branding has been important, but yes,
Fair enough.
understanding that language.
So, what was your day like today?
Today was chaotic. I learned that I'm kind of doing some ambiguous work, and I have to accept that because I'm a rule follower. But it's good because I have to stretch. You have to grow always, right?
It's important to stretch always, yes. Yes. So you were saying earlier you raise money for the arts programs here in Milwaukee, the different, you said, group, you didn't say clubs.
There's
said
different member groups.
member groups
so
is what you said. Okay.
yeah.
Like the ballet.
The
And,
ballet, the rep. We support more
What's the
than
rep?
6,000. It's the repertory theater. So
I don't know what that is.
it's where actors go to perform shows like The Christmas Carol.
Oh.
Yes.
Like the Milwaukee Theater.
The Milwaukee Theater.
Okay. Oh, it's going to turn into that. I'll bite.
Indeed, I'll bite.
Oh, that's awesome, though. And then you said that the program helps out kids in schools.
Yes.
With music.
That's actually one of my very
Funding.
favorite pieces
Yeah.
of what UPAF does. In different ways, supports over 300,000 kids through arts-based education.
So is that like they donate a box full of those plastic $3 recorders to every school?
No, not so much that, but there are some music lessons that are
Sure.
involved with it. Some children receive scholarships to kind of pursue theater. Some of the arts-based funding is directed right into the classroom, so there's less dropout rates. There's higher EQ or social skills. Overall, it's just really good for the workforce and kind of expanding, opportunities for kids to not just fit into baseball or basketball.
Right. That's awesome.
Thank you.
I wish I did something that helped people.
You
Give my
do.
life meaning.
You
I
give
know.
people joy through this podcast.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah. Never been thanked personally.
Yeah, I never have actually, but you're welcome.
A preemptive, you're welcome.
Yeah, careful with those compliments.
I know what you were going to say. You were going to say thank you, and I'll say
So adulting, that sounds like a pretty adult job.
Mm-hmm.
It really does.
It is an adult job.
You're the director is a title in your job, right?
I do.
What is a job title?
Director of Development.
Director of Development.
Development, yes. So
Yeah.
strategy and relationship building and asking big questions. But again, I think one of the standard parts of the definition of adulting is having a 9-to-5 job, showing up to work with brushed teeth,
Yeah.
polished shoes,
Yeah.
clean underwear.
When did that start?
I don't know for
That's
sure.
subjective.
It sounds like you just want to show up and be your best professional person.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think? We kind of had a brief prologue, I suppose, to kind of get comfortable and unwind a little bit. But for every individual, the idea, the concept of adulting is different.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think that we are at a young age, when you're 17 and your guidance counselor in high school says, what do you want to be when you grow up, kind of thing? Do you think that is sort of the point when we develop this image, this idea in our head of what our adult self looks like?
I think it actually might start a little earlier on than that.
Sure.
But I mean, sure. Let's say 17 is that time frame in which you start to realize you have a different set of expectation ahead of you. and then you are, you know, you are given to the world. What do I mean? I mean, you are you
Thrown
kind of
into
take the
it.
leap of faith. You're thrown
Yeah.
into you're thrown into
You were released
yes,
into the
you're
world.
released.
Yeah.
Wow. Could have said that so much better. But that's where I think it gets scary, because you either have an expectation for yourself, or maybe there's an expectation from family or society. I know for me, a lot of people, young women my age, the expectation was to find a partner,
Sure.
um, to, start planning for not just go through college and your professional career, but understand, like, you're also probably going to be a wife and a mother. And that gets a little challenging and scary.
Mm-hmm.
All of it.
Hmm. I mean, it's quite different for a young man. It is. There is expectations,
Mm-hmm.
but not those types of expectations. But I feel like there is a mold to be filled for a young man and a young woman. There's basic parts to that mold that everybody expects you to fit into your frame
Mm-hmm.
of what you have envisioned yourself as an adult. And I think that creates a lot of complications if you are in your mid 20s and nowhere near that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, either it fuels you to fulfill that dream, that goal that you had in your head. You have this life you want to live,
Mm-hmm.
or I think it can kind of take the wind out of your sails a little bit.
Right.
Realizing, like, holy shit, I'm 24, no degree, I don't even own a suit, I have 3 pairs of underwear, 2 of them have holes in them, I don't have a car. I'm just describing myself at 23, so that's just whatever. I think I had like 4 or 5 pairs of underwear, though,
Sure.
to be honest.
Yeah.
But seriously, that's what it was. And then for myself personally, it's obvious not where I wanted to be. I was a scrub. I was the scrub. You know what I'm saying? Nobody wants no scrubs, and that was my fuel to kind of grow up a little bit, and take that leap of faith, like you had
Mhm.
mentioned, and just say, "Fuck it." Responsibility's hard and it's heavy and
Yeah.
and it's dirty and I don't like it, but I'm not happy, so I got to go and do that now.
Mhm.
You know.
Mhm.
Right.
So here I am 6 years later, in that exact environment that I had envisioned myself and wanted to pursue and stuff like that. Only to realize adulting sucks, This is not what I had imagined. I'm
Mhm.
like, yeah, the outside looks all nice and pretty, but then you get on the inside and there's a mortgage payment and insurance
What?
and your car and medical bills, God forbid, and
Mhm.
groceries, which is cool. You can have those delivered now. That's pretty tight. It's a cool thing about being an adult.
It's cool if you can afford it.
If you can afford it, I suppose. Yeah. How about you?
I agree with all that. It's your perception and what you feel like society might be placing on you as far as what those expectations are. But I think you had a really good description for what adulting is. And can you repeat that back? I don't
Yeah.
think you mentioned it yet.
No, not well. Yeah, the adulting, the responsibilities tied to the lifestyle each individual chooses to live.
Right.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, because
Mhm.
you had made mention to different type of adulting. Like you said, hey, if you want to live in a van, convert it, and travel the world, then
Right.
do that. That's your own version. But like you said, it's adulting sucks, right? Like you don't like all those responsibilities that are attached to it. So, are you looking to make a change, kind of scale back a little bit on mortgage or?
That's the tricky part, because if I do scale back, then I'm really no longer in that envisioned mindset of what I think an adult is.
You're not a part of the club anymore.
Yeah,
Like
then I'm not a part of the club. Then I'm a hippie. I'm a commie.
Your social status changes, right?
A little bit. I mean, my
You know?
social status was fucked when I was 18, so it doesn't really matter. It really doesn't matter.
Social status, C, credit score.
I am in
Yeah.
trouble. Hence why I'm on the internet. How you doing?
I'm glad you brought that up though too. Credit score.
Yeah.
My goodness. If I would have known throughout my college years, you know, what it meant to own a credit card, what it meant to start a savings. All of those things would have been much more helpful to me in
Mhm.
starting kind of the actual adulting after college
Yeah.
that takes place. But yeah, my husband and I are in the process of purchasing a home, and we're in our late 30s, and it's starting to feel better. It's starting to feel like we've made some room. We've made some, you know, some achievement in our financial status. But man, we would have only taken advantage of the time that we had earlier on and saved better and planned better, and wow. But we didn't know better.
Well, right. No young person does. And then you have those experiences and you tell a young person, hey, you should really have a savings account and have a credit card, use it for $20 purchases, pay it off immediately. And, you know, you can give all the information, all the tools. I mean, I remember being a young person, everybody telling me the right things to do, but I'm like, fuck you. I know what's up. I'm going to be a drummer in a metal band. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
Didn't happen. And now I'm like, oh, well, maybe I should have just done those
Follow
things.
the rules.
Yeah.
The rules of society.
The rules of society. Yeah. Yeah. The rules of society. So I mean, that type of shit, there is sort of rules laid out to be the adult, right?
Yeah.
I mean, vague and interpreted differently by every person, but there are sort of standards that one must abide by in order to be a prosperous, useful adult citizen of the United States, tax-paying, God-fearing, flag-loving citizen.
USA. It's kind of funny how the credit score system is a little bit perpetual. Like, when you have a good credit score, you're going to get better rates. You're saving money, short-term and long-term. You're able to get financing for those purchases or assets. But when your credit score is bad or less than par, then unfortunately you're going to pay more in interest. So you're kind of stuck. Like, you're always spinning your wheels, always trying to get further ahead because you're further behind. And interest rates are going to kill you with, I mean, it's a lot. Interest rates are high. And when you have a balance stacked up, it's going to start accumulating.
Absolutely.
Student loans too.
Student loans.
Take a moment to ponder.
Yeah. It's like, there's some people, you get that 1,000-yard stare, you know, it's just like, oh, student loans. Shit, the trauma, you know?
There is trauma involved in student loans.
Yeah, for sure. It messes up your whole life.
No, I recall my car breaking down when I was maybe 17 years old. I had a 1981 Ford Fairmont. And that car, though it was very loved, was just not very good to me. So take the car in on like one of the worst snowstorms of that year, and I'm watching, you know, these mechanics work on my vehicle, and I'm just intrigued and appreciative, and I think, I want to do that. You know, my dad walks into the room shortly after, and I say to him, I want to be a mechanic. Yeah. And he's like, no, you're not going to be a mechanic. And while it wasn't so much about I couldn't do that as a female, it was he had goals and hopes for me that I would attend college.
Sure.
But I do recall having the argument with him in that, you know, if everyone's going to college, who's going to be taking on these trade positions? And now that's happening today.
Yeah, absolutely. You see a lot of people are now realizing that the student loans are really may not be worth what they say they're worth.
They're not.
And they don't get you where you need to be.
Right.
You know, it's not guaranteed placement. You're not going to get that job.
Nope, probably won't.
And by all means, I'm not discouraging anyone from going to college. That's not what I'm discouraging. But yes, the trauma of student loans is a lot.
Right. It certainly is. I mean, trauma means different things to different people, of course.
I'm just using your word.
But I think it's a good word for it because it can be traumatic. It can be traumatic.
You're jumping down her throat. Don't use that word.
I'm not.
You're a word man.
This is my show. Do you want to go sit out? No, I entirely agree. And I would never discourage somebody who really wants to go to college from doing so. But I think now, being a little bit more mature, having a couple switches flipped, that, you know, do some research on other options, because there are other options. And I feel like a lot of times growing up, whether or not your parents plan on paying for it, you know, whatever, if that's an option, or grant scholarships, want to play football for this college to go to college, blah, blah, blah. There are a lot of other options out there that are entirely useful to society, that make decent money, and you don't need that college degree for. You just got to get started, basically, you know?
Yeah. One foot in front of the other.
Yeah.
Could be the slogan for this
Campaign.
episode.
This
like it.
episode, one foot in front of the other.
Adulting,
Oh,
just get started.
yeah, that would be okay.
It's not, but
You heard it here first, folks. Try to have one of those every episode.
Yeah. I know a lot of people like to complain about if they had more official adulting classes in high
Yes.
school,
Yeah.
how much that would help, whether it's taxes, like you said, college versus trade versus
Mhm.
other options, interest rates. I mean, if people really understood what it took,
Mhm.
how to eat healthy,
right?
how to
Right.
make healthy crock pot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Meals in minutes.
That should be
Not
standard.
minutes, but
Yeah.
Right. How to write out a check. True
write
story.
a check.
I had a
Mhm.
22-year-old kid come into my office. What's today? Tuesday, last week sometime. And he was in there on behalf of his dad to write a check for their insurance premium. And this motherfucker pulled out his dad's checkbook, grabbed a pen from my pen thing, and turned the checkbook around and handed it to me. And I was just like, nope.
I'm not your father.
I don't sign. I don't fill out your checks, homie. Not my job. And he was like, so what do I write here? I was like, well, it says date. What do you think?
Yeah.
And I have zero patience for that type of thing. I'm terrible with customer service. I just really am. And that's my job.
You can see the irritation on him.
Oh, yeah. I can't help it. Like, my face does not hide my emotions. It's something I'm working on.
That's good.
Yeah, I'm working on. I
good.
know.
That's also adulting.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, recognizing your flaws and trying to work on them, right? And I have that problem. I have either resting bitch face all the time, or my emotions are just immediately. Don't fucking give me. Anyway, or my
I
emotions.
was agreeing with you.
or
Your words.
immediately
Your words. I'm agreeing with your
on my
words.
face. So this kid hands me this checkbook, and I'm like, okay, right there. It says date. Today's I think it was like the 9th or something.
Mhm.
And so he fills that out. He's like, paid to the order of you. And I was almost just like, this motherfucker might write me a check for $200.
Oh,
Yeah.
you're like, oh, don't put in the money part. I take care of
You're
that.
right. I could have
Yeah.
Get a
totally.
blank check.
I
Wow.
could have probably got a blank check from this kid.
Mhm.
So I did tell him line by line to fill out what to fill out, and he was like, "Do I sign my dad's name?" I was like, "No, sign your name. Don't sign anybody else's name ever. It's stupid."
Mhm.
So he signs his name, and then he's like, he grabs that and the carbon copy, and he starts ripping it out. No idea that it's perforated, and he's just start ripping the shit. I'm like, "You need to go. You need to go." I finished it. I gave him this checkbook. I was like, "I'll mail the receipt. Have a good day."
Wow.
And I kicked him out of my office because I was so frustrated with this young adult who had no idea how to fill out a check.
Mhm.
Me personally, when I was like 7, I got this birthday gift, and it was a fake checkbook, so that all my birthday money would go to my parents, and I'd have to write them a check to get the money back. Didn't work out that well, but when I was 7, I learned how to write out a check,
That's really great.
And it doesn't mean that everybody who's 7 should. I just feel like, how did that person go from birth to 22 with a
yeah.
college, diploma or whatever from high
Mhm.
school, and not know how to fill out a check? That's irresponsible.
I don't disagree, but I will add to that. Years ago, I had to do training for individuals who had to work with our dying in our community, and there were many individuals that would come into this training that didn't have basic manners. Like, please, thank you, and I had to really remind myself, like, these are products of the people who have taught them. Their
Sure.
teachers, their parents. And so I thought either I get really frustrated, or I think, is there an opportunity to teach? And I'm not trying to be so Pollyanna here, but I'm also saying it was an adult moment in my life
Sure.
where I had to, as a professional, recognize we come from different backgrounds. We are taught very differently. I grew up in a very strict background, and had to, for a couple summers, do chores for an hour a day with my dad.
Sure.
And that made no sense to my friends. I look
Mhm.
back at that very fondly now and think, man, the hard skills that I learned,
Mm.
kind of like your parents teaching you how to write a check at 7 years old.
Yeah.
Grateful. Gave me a different kind of start and mentality.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, also, it's just tough to it's tough to remember that everyone has a different upbringing.
Right. Absolutely. And I think that's a great point. Is what responsibility does it go to the parents? Like, shouldn't the parents kind of be guiding and teaching the kids? Because I know my parents did. Like, they put an emphasis on finances and money,
Right.
Taxes, and just like those life skills. It's important knowledge to have, and like you said, super grateful now having that knowledge. Just basic repair stuff, or
Right.
those basic things are really important. It's basic to us, but someone else is like, I don't know what to do with that.
Right.
You know,
But that this person that I'm speaking of specifically went through. I mean, he's born in America. He's an American citizen. Okay, so as all American citizen children do, went through 12 years of state-funded
and he graduated.
and graduated.
Yeah.
And 4 years later, after that, with all of life experiences, potentially college, job, a car, lost his virginity. Only high quality products here.
You saw it here, folks.
Candid perfection right here.
You know what? Like, someone gets really, really confident in the words they're saying.
Yeah.
And they grab the mic and like,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna take this over.
Yeah. Just pick up the table. Listen to me. Where was I saying? Went through all those years of high school,
12 years.
and then
And
4
4
years
years
later
life.
of life, and didn't know how to write out a check. It just was
Yeah.
dumbfounded. Didn't even know how to ask how to fill out a check.
How
I
to
think
properly.
I think that's what really set me off.
That's fair.
Yeah,
When
like,
he turned,
the expectation was he handed it to you.
handed me the check. Here, you do it. I just wanted to reach across the room and smack that
well,
motherfucker in the head.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I bet if that would have happened to him more as a kid, he would have remembered how to write that shit out.
Yeah.
I don't know. I came from a really fucked up childhood, so it's whatever, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe, and this is a point. This is a theory I've come up with years ago. Is that, like you were talking with that young woman earlier today, 24 years old.
Yeah.
She's professional, right?
Mhm.
Like professional. She's doing
Mhm.
her shit. In 6-7 years, she might be a 30-year-old Wonder Woman kind of thing, And then, but she was down on herself because
Yes.
feeling like I'm 24, I don't have what I wanted to have. I'm not at that achievement that I wanted to be at, either by
Right.
this time or the image of herself, the goals, the ambitions. And then I came up with this theory that every maybe 3 to 6 years, an individual will go through I like to call it like a switch gets flipped,
Yeah.
like a little maturity thing. You just take another step off that thing. Unfortunately, you keep walking. Eventually, it's a flat line. You just go straight down, and then you die. But I feel like that's like the trick of it is starting from puberty, basically, because everything else before puberty is just you learning how to be a human, more or less, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you hit puberty, and then your life goes downhill terribly.
Oh.
But then, from there, every couple of years, when you're when you're 10 or 13, you go through puberty. That's just the worst thing in the world, right?
Mhm.
Everything's so loud, and everybody else is going through puberty around you. So there's just a big cage of fucked up people every day at school. But then you hit that next maturity level, and you realize, oh, it's not so bad. Okay, okay. And then you graduate high school. You hit that next flip where you're released from this cage that you've been in for the last 12 years, and all of a sudden you got to figure out, what do I do, kind of thing. It's like videos of those pigs or cows or chickens that have been in captivity their whole life, and then they're released into a field and they just run around like fucking animals.
Hey.
Because they don't know what to do with themselves. And that's kind of like how it is. But then you catch on to things and how the world works, and then you just kind of gradually, every couple of years, hit that next switch, and then shit just kind of makes a little bit more sense to you,
Mm-hmm.
And experience, maturity, call it whatever you will. But that's kind of my theory on how human beings are wired a little bit. Because I feel like I recognize that in myself from 18 to 23, big difference,
Yeah.
and then 23 to 27, 28, huge difference.
Mm-hmm.
And now here I am 30, and I own a house, a car, I got a kid, a dog. And that's pretty much what I wanted by the time I was 30.
Mm-hmm.
My boss, when I was 23, said, where do you want to be when you're 30? And I said, I want to have a house, a kid. I want to own my own business. That's one thing I did say that I don't do yet. House, kid, dog, yard, fenced in, car, you, me, shots, buzz, beers. Sorry.
Used to call me Buzz. Got straight B's.
But I I feel like I've started
It's
this
the
going
it's
somewhere.
it's the flip that switches. It's like
Right.
you get a new upgrade for your operating system, like they say. Like
Yeah,
we're
like an
gonna
update. You just got to install overnight, sort of thing. It
yeah
just takes 5 years,
yeah
unfortunately,
yeah
and that's kind of how it is. And then, so to any young people who accidentally clicked on this video, it's all right. It will potentially get better.
I, and I think that's really important to share is when we first started talking about this topic, I realized I was going down a dark hole. I was very much thinking, man, if I only learned this, and it would have put me in a better position, or this or that. Adulting is tough because you are navigating life through different phases and jumping different hoops and whatnot. But I think I'm loving my late 30s. You do have to kind of go through some uncomfortable moments, and whether that is meeting the expectations or trying to figure out what that is for you. There's maybe some self-hatred involved,
Yeah, for sure.
some just depression, trying to find your network, your people who can you trust.
Yeah.
All of that kind of is a part of becoming an adult. And I think what I'd said earlier is, you have to plant some roots. You don't always know where to plant them, but when you find the right patch, when you find the right foundation, the right earth, and you start to kind of grow. And I feel like I'm in the bloom phase right now.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Good.
there's Pollyanna once again.
Nice.
But it does get better. It can, there's light.
Right. There's success stories from the worst parts of the world that you hear all the time,
Absolutely.
And the key formula to that success is always, I didn't want to be here anymore. I had an idea of where I wanted to be, and just putting that energy out there in the universe, I feel like just attracts that energy towards you. Like, I'm serious. Like, you don't understand the level of scrub I really was when I was 23 years old. I got hired at a Pizza Hut, and my first day I got fired because I can't work for the Wisconsin Hospitality Group anymore.
Which is a
Thanks
bunch
to
of places now. Right?
Yeah, Pizza Hut, Taco Bell, KFC, Applebee's, any chain or owned by that organization, I can't work for.
Wow.
Because of a stupid thing I did when I was 18. Don't worry, I
Yeah.
didn't spit nobody's food or nothing.
Yeah.
That's
You weren't
good.
licking ice cream.
Nothing stupid like
No?
that. No. Equally as stupid, but not as gross.
Yeah.
So I got fired that day, and it was February, and I had to walk home across 2 miles, and I didn't bring a
Yeah.
jacket because I was expected to be inside in a hot kitchen all day. It was like my rock bottom moment right there, and I was just like, fuck it, man. I don't want to be this anymore.
Yeah.
I got to grow up.
You gotta grow up.
I got to be better than who I am right now. And I was always one of the people, like, I don't ever want to grow up. I want to be a Neverland kid, and I just want to smoke pot and play video games all day, every day for the rest of my life, because that's what life is, and it sounds cool. And I'm not good. I'm not even that great at video games. Like,
Yeah.
I own a lot of them, but I don't play a lot, and I'm no good. So that didn't even make sense. People make a career out of playing video games now. I still can't because I suck at it, which is weird. People,
Which is tough.
yeah.
I'm curious about you. Did you have a grow up moment? 'Cause I'm trying to recall for myself what that was.
Sure. I mean, I've been through a lot of different positions and jobs in my life, and I think all of them were really good experience, and I got what I needed out of it. Just making sure you look good in there. Hey.
Yeah. Checking sound levels, make sure
Nailed it.
everything's good.
Nailed it. Yeah, I've been in restaurants before. I've been in sales. I've been in a lot of different positions where you're always looking for that next step, that next upgrade. I suppose for me, I was a car salesman at a dealership, and started out in new car sales. They said, yeah, there's a lot of potential here, make a lot of money, but it was draw against commission, so you make minimum wage, and then your commission is like you have to make more than your minimum wage to get money. So wasn't very successful. Had a couple good months. Then they kind of demote you to used car sales, and then they kind of push you out. So basically, I got fired in December before Christmas, and then it was that February that I started with a temp agency before Horizon. I think that was a big stepping point for me, was to upgrade to Horizon. Go in with a tie if you want to, do important work.
Leased a car?
Least that time I bought a car.
Oh, which car did you?
The Chrysler 200.
I thought you leased that. I'm sorry.
No,
It wasn't a Ford Fairmont.
But I think that was one of my life upgrades,
Mhm.
a tipping point, and I made a lot of good connections.
Mhm.
Katy Corey here,
Katy Corey.
Kelly, Terrence, Gina. I mean, just a bunch of great people, volunteers. That was a really cool job for me. It felt important.
Yeah.
Had a purpose to it.
You are important, and you are.
Thank you.
But I thought you were a great, responsible young man.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a cool job too, doing what you did, helping people like that. Like that
Yeah.
was cool.
Yeah.
That thing, and then the scheduling thing, that was cool too.
Yeah.
I always kind of admired that job you had
Aw.
because I was just working at a state farm agency, and Chris is here. He's just like, oh, this lady might die. Let me go get a nurse over to her. And I'm just like, how cool is that?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, it was. Yeah.
That was
It
was
felt
really
cool at
It
the
was a
time. Yeah, it was-
matter of life or death.
Yeah.
Type of work.
Yeah.
Boom. Boom. Terrible.
Gotta have that humor in hospice.
Yeah, I
Yeah, you
guess.
do.
I guess. But yeah. So that was basically yours, huh? The Horizon job.
I
And
think that was a good one. And I think I had another one after that moment where did the DJ business. That's
right.
after a year or two of that, started the DJ business, kind of focused on that. Kind of took a step back doing a part-time, but that was more of a dream and a focus that I wanted, knowing the potential in it. So it's doing the best it's ever been, which is great. It's on the uptrend. So I think
Right.
all of those are, like you said, the moments that the switch flips. You make that upgrade, planting the roots and kind of growing from there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Definitely been uphill since Horizon for you, I feel.
I would say so.
Mhm.
Yeah. Some plateaus here and there, but you gotta
Everybody does.
you gotta coast a little bit
right.
sometimes.
You gotta and you gotta struggle to reach the goal, right? You have
I
to
love
struggle.
Struggle
Right.
is my motivator.
Right. I
Yeah.
struggle everything. Struggle snuggle.
Let me love you.
But it's always compared to working out, right? You lift the heavy weights, it's hard, it sucks, you
Ooh.
sweat,
That's a good analogy.
but afterwards you're built like me.
I,
Yeah.
wa-
I'm
I
saying?
want to
You
go
have
to the gym
results.
right now.
Right.
Do you?
Yeah.
Right. Dad
Yeah.
bod all day, every day. Just lift the weights. But that's how I imagine it.
Yeah.
The plateaus in life, the quick downhills. Even if you look at a stock report, it goes up and then goes down, but it goes back up again, right?
Right.
Shit like that.
I like to refer to it.
Struggle.
Yeah. I like to call it the short-term sacrifice for the long-term gain.
Right.
It's gonna suck doing it now, making those changes, putting in the effort,
Mhm.
but the long-term gain is gonna be worth it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And that sounds easy. Like it sounds easy,
It-
But when you're in that mode where you're just like, I don't want to sacrifice anything right now. I don't want to.
Right.
I don't want to be without this, or I don't want to not go out with my friends Friday, Saturday, Sunday because I took the second job, shit like that. So it's hard. It's hard to kind of balance, and it's hard to motivate yourself. And if you're raised without a lot of independence or the word I can't never remember.
Initiative?
It's a good one. It's
Okay.
a good one.
Yeah.
I always think about in the army, you get a lot of discipline is the word. Discipline. I have to use that analogy for me to remember that word 100% of the time. But if you don't have that self-discipline, I feel
Mhm.
like, which I did and still do not, then it's even harder to get over that hump
Sure.
of this is what adulthood looks like. We reach the top of the hill, and you get to the top of the hill, and you realize that there's another. The path just starts
know.
there, and you got to go all the way down. And that was kind of the realization that kind of sucked. It was like, okay, here I am, but I not only have to maintain this, but how do I grow from here?
Right.
And that's the sassy part of the whole thing there.
Well put.
Sassy little.
Yeah.
Well put.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Thanks.
I was
Nobody's ever
being-
said
I was
that
being
to me
sincere,
before.
yeah.
I appreciate that.
Being
My dry
sassy.
humor isn't always received well.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
You're being naughty. Sassy.
Yeah, that's how it is. That's a sassy part of life. You need a little sass every now and then, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess. Well, adulting looks different, feels different, sounds different to every single person.
Mm-hmm.
It really just depends on when you close your eyes and you imagine what realistically I feel like is also important too. Because I had goals and ambitions and aspirations. I did. They were just unrealistic and frankly, I didn't have the discipline to achieve them, and
Sure. Were you rebelling that?
rebelling.
Rebelling the rule, the rules of society?
Not
Were
necessarily.
you disciplined too?
I don't think
just
it was that. I think it just more like the success I had in mind relied on other people,
okay.
which I feel like is like the first strike kind of thing. Like
Okay.
your success can't rely on other people.
That's very true.
Because if it does, you're moving at somebody else's pace,
Mhm.
and that's
Mhm.
not fair to that individual.
Mhm.
So if that was strike one, strike two is my idea of success was one of those only 1 in a million anomaly type successes sort of thing. So strike two, it's a stupid idea. And then my strike three was the lack of discipline, lack
Mhm.
of self control, and just lack of independence. To be honest, I was always relying on somebody else to either pay the bills, buy the groceries.
Mhm.
I needed your car because I didn't have one, sort of thing. And those three things are just bad. That is not the sugar, spice, and everything nice to get the powder puffs. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's a recipe for disaster.
And you have to, you have to figure that out for yourself.
100%.
You can't, like, 10 years ago would have not been receptive to, let's say, unsolicited advice
Nope.
about, you got to change those three things about you.
Mhm.
But in hindsight, man, right?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I feel like I have to show respect to the negatives that happened.
Absolutely.
Because if you just say, "Oh, that was a shitty part of my life," I'm gonna throw it in the back of the closet, kind of thing, then you're missing out on a lot of learning opportunities.
You're missing out on learning opportunities, and you're also not appreciating what could seem mundane.
Sure.
Because sometimes being an adult isn't all that exciting. Man, we don't have a dishwasher in our house,
Bummer.
and but the dishes have to be done every day.
Right.
We, have early morning appointments, so that means sometimes there's not a, late night social gathering,
Mhm.
or you cut things out, and you feed your cats because I have 4. Thank you. I just had to get that in. But not everything's exciting,
No, yeah.
and but at the same time, when I reflect on what I would call horrible 20s, just
Sure.
very confusing 20s, I prefer the stability, and I also look back now, feeling like I'm very proud of where I am today.
Sure.
So, and I feel like I'm hearing that from you too.
Yeah, I am. It's hard for me to admit it because I'm an asshole. So it's hard for me to really truly admit things and be personable and emotional. Those just come out randomly because I'm a sociopath. But self-diagnosed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't worry. But yeah, I am. I'm extremely proud of that. Thinking 7 years ago, I was sitting. I know exactly what chair I was sitting in, and the desk, and the room I was in when I said where I wanted to be when I was 30.
Mhm.
And then I turned 30 in November, and I wasn't quite there, but I knew I was well on my way.
Mhm.
And now here it is July, and I'm pretty much exactly verbatim where I wanted to be, other than own my own business, which is okay, because all that means is that I was not well equipped or did not prepare enough to have that right now,
Mhm.
right? But you don't have that hindsight in your 20s. 20s is just puberty part 2. Let's call it that. Let's just call it the 20s puberty part 2. It's not so much your body changing, weird things happening, hair growing in weird places and shit, but it
just happens more.
It just it does. It does. Different places, different colors now all of a sudden. But through your 20s, it's more of a social puberty.
Yeah.
It's more of a social
I think that's an excellent analogy.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it really is.
You're for me it was a very emotional shift.
Mm-hmm.
Like psychologically, I mean, I know that I went on medication. I just was super I had such high expectations of who I was going to be, and I
Sure.
couldn't see the next step,
Mhm.
So I just got way too hard on myself. And when I finally found my footing, you start to move with that, and you get momentum. Oh my gosh, how exciting! How exciting.
Yeah, that momentum is definitely fuel
Yeah.
to keep going.
Yeah.
It really is. But it's getting that momentum that is the hardest thing.
Right. I think we've all been in those dark places before where you're lacking your own motivation and you can't see that light, and you're kind of struggling, you know. But then, like you said, once you get your footing, you start to find out, all right, here's my purpose, my reason to get up, you know, and feels good.
Yeah.
Yep. And again, you know, that your version of you as an adult is different to every single person, you know. Like who I want to be when I'm 38, 39, 40, 10 years from now when I'm 40, who I want to be is probably different than who my wife imagines I'll be, and is different than, well, my kid doesn't really, she's not that cognitive yet, so she don't give a shit. She thinks she's turning 5 tomorrow every day. So
is it my birthday yet?
So, you know, but it's different for every single person. And then, yeah, when you either have super high expectations of yourself as a youth, or that those expectations are assigned to you by those around you and that you trust and care about, parents, teachers, guidance counselors, all that stuff, everybody that has that psychological influence to you as a youth, when it's so important to have positive influences, you know. And I feel so bad for the kids growing up today. I don't know what generation Twitter has deemed them as of now, but the kids growing up with, like, we were, 13 when AIM came out, right? Like around that middle school, just before high school. And we had AIM and the chatting and shit like that. And then we had AOL, and then we had LimeWire to download anything we want. Like, we grew up as that stuff was being developed and improved upon and stuff like that. I think that's why the 90s is so nostalgic for us, because so much has changed between then and now. You know, we were so happy as kids, and now we're just fucking miserable with this thing in our pocket all the time.
Technology's taken over.
It is.
And not all of us, depending on your generation, not all of us are privy to certain programs or experiences with, you know,
with the
technology.
growth of it. Absolutely. Right. So then you get kids nowadays where this is number one, this is number two. You know what I mean? And we didn't really grow up like that. We weren't youths with that type of mindset. We were the go out and play because the sun's up and you can come back in when dinner's called kind of thing. We were still part of that generation.
I cannot even imagine not having the opportunity to build real conversations and real connections with people.
Right.
I mean, I met my husband in a bar,
sure.
right? I didn't have the opportunity for Match.com, all of those things.
Right.
And I think I would maybe struggle a little bit more if that would have been an opportunity presented to me.
Right.
But
for Tinder.
Sure. And you know, I'm not, please understand, I'm not bashing, but I just feel like there was a different way to connect.
Sure.
And I know that there's anxieties increased, you know, because there's a sense of loneliness with technology.
Yeah, absolutely.
So in back to adulting, if I look at myself in my 20s, where it was the hardest time of my young life, if I didn't have those real connections, like maybe that's what's happening today.
Sure.
Wow.
Yeah, everything.
The struggle would be so much more real. No, I just got really sad now. We have to say something more positive.
No.
Clowns and balloons, a birthday cake.
That's good. That's good.
But you're absolutely right.
Actually, I don't like cake, but
fuck cake.
Those are all sad things.
Those are salads. Salads. Is that a safe space?
Damn, man, Debbie Downer over here talking about salads.
She's the one that says you don't like cake. All right, come on.
Okay. Anyway, yeah.
What's your take on salads? I thought there was something coming.
But you are absolutely right, though. I mean, to be fair, I met your husband in a bar as well. So we have that in common.
Oh, that's interesting.
That's cool. I'm pretty sure I did, probably. Or in our living room in Tosa. I think it was at a bar, though.
Probably.
Yeah, we went to a lot of bars. You got me out of the house a lot.
I was trying to, man.
I was struggling, though. I wanted to stay home.
Yeah. I mean, I think we all get like that antisocial nowadays.
Yeah.
Just like, I don't really feel it, you know, but you feel better once you go. But a lot of people are having that social anxiety where even when they are out and about doing things, like, they just want to be home.
Oh, yeah.
They just want to go back to their safe space. And
every day.
You know, you're not going to grow unless you're a little uncomfortable. You're not going to gain that experience unless you're out there, you know, socializing, gaining those skills.
Right. You have to struggle to grow. You have to. And getting over that anxiety, which is so I don't know, common, it seems
Yeah.
now, depression and anxiety, when it's more or less like maybe you're just giving new names to being a adult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Depression and anxiety. Yeah, you're fucking sad because you got to go and do shit for other people 8 hours a day that you don't really give a shit about, but you got a paycheck so you can pay for your rent, your
Right.
car, and go and do that shit tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like that's what adulthood essentially is. Finding times to explore yourself and be creative and see the world in between those types of things, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think it's also learning how to color in the lines a little,
Mm-hmm.
and that's okay.
Right, right. Big argument is, don't teach kids to color in the lines because you stifle their creativity, man.
Yeah.
Everybody I do has a Tommy Chong.
Yeah,
I
but
don't mean to.
like color, you know exactly what I mean when I say
Mm-hmm.
I'm expected to show up at my job at a certain time.
Right.
That is me being an
Dressed a
adult.
certain way.
Yes.
Yeah.
And but also having a specific language.
Mm-hmm.
Really being when I show up for a meeting, I need to have all of my ducks in a row. It'd be, oh my gosh, how embarrassing if I showed up without any knowledge of what I'm doing.
Right.
So that's how I mean coloring the line. Coloring in the line.
Yeah.
The easiest thing to say, and I can't.
Adulting. No, absolutely. It's hard. It's kind of like that is the American human experience, though. And you said it several times today. Praise be to God that is our experience, because sure as shit, it's a lot harder for a lot of other people. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, oh man, we got to go to school for 12 years and then maybe go to college and get a job to get a house with air conditioning, have your groceries delivered.
People would kill for that.
That's what I'm saying. People do kill for
these
that.
are first world problems that we're all talking about.
100%.
Thank you.
You
Yeah,
know,
Yeah.
they really are.
I mean, granted, we're talking about the topic, because
Sure.
then I'm gonna feel sad. But yeah,
But it's very true.
it's so true. It's
Yeah.
so true. Yeah.
We have it pretty fucking good in America. It's just at the same time with any other country, whether you have it good or you're poverty stricken or whatever. I mean, there's poverty stricken places here in America
Of course.
that have struggles that you and I can't even fathom. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it just kind of sucks as far as that goes.
Mm-hmm.
But still, there are guidelines that society sort of builds. I don't know if it's taught to us or if it's just like, again, we're just molded from our parents mold us from those guidelines in the
Mhm.
society that grow up, get a job, go to work, die, and
Mhm.
then try and be yourself and be creative and see the world in between that.
Try to enjoy it,
Sure.
because that's
That's important too.
how. Oh my gosh, and Chris and I have a very strong friendship, and thank goodness for those types of connections, and I know you two do too.
Mhm.
And that's what that's the break. That's the break from reality, and the
Right.
the support system that you create and build over time, and that's the enjoyment that you get. You get a little nugget out of life
Right.
as you age,
Right.
mature,
Mature.
color in the lines.
So circling back in conclusion,
In conclusion, what would you take away from this conversation? What would you say that if somebody is searching this video going, I'm struggling to find out what it is to mean to be an
Yeah.
adult in America in 2019?
My perspective is there are phases of adulting, and there's no one who can really tell you but you how to
Mm-hmm.
manage that and walk through that. But it will ultimately, if you just keep moving forward, it's going to get better, and appreciate each process. Acknowledge when it's good, acknowledge when it's low, learn from it. And man, if you need help writing a check, figure out the right way to ask.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
It's not about knowing how to do it. It's just it's important to know how to ask for help, right?
yeah,
That's true.
How to ask for help 101. You pay $4,000 a year to learn that fucking skill, I guess.
yeah.
It's just upsetting. Now I'm upset again.
Oopsie doops.
I start sweating more than what I am now. You have anything to add to that?
I just wanted to add to your point is, look for a mentor.
that's good.
Look to someone that you can kind of learn from them a little bit, copy what they're doing, or try and network with the people you aspire to be, because that'll rub off on you.
Exactly. Yep.
Take that next step, and others will help support you and guide you. You just have to ask for the help and ask questions.
Ask questions. Yeah. People are very willing to teach what they know, but it's kind of a social taboo to just walk up and start teaching somebody some shit, Just like, here, this is how you do it. This is how you do it. This is how you do it. You don't really learn much from that. You gotta ask questions, Sometimes it's good. Sometimes it's doesn't work out so well, depending on the profession you're in. Don't ask too many questions. Speaking of, what do you think about aliens?
Earrings?
Aliens.
Aliens?
Yeah.
I'm open.
I thought you were going to say, so what are you guys doing September 20th? Huh?
Oh, fuck that nonsense, dude. These people that really are going to Naruto run to the fucking Area 51 gates, I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to hear about it on Twitter the next day when 64 American citizens were shot to death on the other side of an electric fence by the United States military. I don't want to hear about it.
Yeah.
You know about this bullshit?
I have to go home.
Oh, you're going, aren't you?
She's an alien.
You're going. You're going to Area 51?
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to hear about it the next day.
Well, you won't.
I hope you survive. And if you meet any aliens, got an open guest spot here.
Okay.
Yeah. No
Fascinating.
That'd be cool.
No
That'd
problem.
be interesting.
Let me know how that goes. Assuming you make it back. I hope you do.
Thank you.
Yeah, good
Thank you.
luck.
Thank you.
I just don't trust it, man, because people are going to actually try to do this shit, and it's not going to end. It is going to end up exactly how you think it's going to end.
What's the age demographic
Of
these 64 individuals?
Oh, probably anywhere from 16 to, I'd say, 50.
So you're saying they didn't figure out adulting?
Well, I'm just saying, if you
What?
feel like storming a secret Air Force base guarded heavily by the United States military, probably, yeah, there's some screw loose somewhere. I wouldn't recommend it.
Okay, I won't do it.
Thanks. One life saved today. I mean, if you want to go do it, that's fine.
No,
but
one
I
step
wouldn't-
forward, man.
Wouldn't recommend it. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, everybody, thanks for tuning into this episode of That's Our Take. I hope you enjoyed it and got something of it. This is Katy Corey. Do you have any social media stuffs? Follow that on Twitter.
That's with 12 R's.
No, that's fine. You don't have to promote yourself. Chris doesn't anyways. But you'll be able to follow me on the links posted in the description below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel for more of what we do here. Hope you liked it. And if you're listening on the podcast, you're valued as well. Good night, everybody.